All right, we're about to get started here in just a moment. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I said around 6:30, but it's 6:50 now. Just got a lot going on here at the station. I have obligations, have lots of different things. When we have a lot of weather going on, there's just a lot that we have to do here. So not only do I work on my own social media stuff, but I also have to work on the work side of things, the News Channel 6 side of things. So I'm very busy when we have weather. I tell people all the time I have a very easy job um, until I don't. And with this winter weather event, it has not been an easy job at all. None, not at all. The forecast hasn't been easy. The everything, nothing has been easy. But we are finally into the weather now. We're finally into the ice, and the brunt of the storm is probably kicking in now. So far, what we have seen has just been light freezing precipitation. Light freezing where we had some sleet, but most of it's just been light. There's still dry air. This storm system is still fighting off a ton of dry air out there, and that's been the limiting factor so far. We have moistened up a little bit, and we have seen some waves of freezing rain push through. In fact, we're probably about to see, at least here in Wichita Falls anyway, we're about to see the freezing rain increase a little bit. So instead of just drizzle, it'll probably be kind of a light to moderate freezing rain moving in for the next hour or so. And then it kind of extends back off to the southwest some. But again, there's dry air out there, and this system's having to fight a lot of dry air over northwest Texas. And that's probably going to prevent us from seeing a bigger ice storm. I'm not going to complain about that, but that's been why we haven't seen as big of a winter storm as we thought we would see. But it's coming in now. We're getting some accumulations, but it's just not the big accumulations that we thought we might get. Let's look at the radar and talk about what it is showing. I can show you what it's showing, as a matter of fact. So let me move this over just a little bit. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So the purples that you see here, again, that's going to be primarily freezing rain. There really isn't any sleet now. There might have been a little sleet at the onset of it, but most everything we're seeing now is freezing rain. And as you look just kind of southwest of Wichita Falls, those little darker pink colors, that represents some heftier or slightly heavier amounts coming in. It'll pick up some. So instead of just the drizzle type stuff we're seeing now, there will actually be a period where we see some actual accumulating precipitation. That should overspread Wichita Falls shortly. You're probably seeing it pick up now in Seymour, and you'll see that increase in Holiday, Lakeside City shortly, and then over into Clay County. But notice up in Oklahoma how there remains this hole around the radar. That's the dry air. It's still there. It hasn't gone away. So the lighter precipitation is just having a really difficult time reaching the Earth's surface. It's just been one of those type of systems. These systems usually do have some dry air with them, but not this much. This is a lot of dry air we've had to fight off today. So that's been a hindrance. But, I'm not going to complain. I know that we shut the city down today, and that probably didn't need to happen because it didn't come in until, recent. But, it's one of those things that if we would have wound up getting this stuff in here earlier than the afternoon, we'd have gone to school and done stuff, it would have been dangerous. The roads really are pretty dangerous out there tonight. They're really slick, especially the less travel roads, the sidewalks, the bridges, the overpasses. Those are really, really slick. So you can see the darker colors there. The reds are the darker pinks. Those are moving in from Seymour right up AV2. It looks like there's some moderate freezing rain, maybe some sleet back off to the northwest there in Vernon and Quanah. That's going to try to move into southwest Oklahoma. A lot, and you'll eventually get some. Most of it's going to be light. But you'll at least get enough to perhaps create some slick spots out there on roadways. If we kind of expand this some, the worst of the ice storm has been just northwest of the Metroplex. Mineral Wells, Weatherford, you go back into central Texas, Austin got hammered with it. But, again, up our way, we've just been fighting dry air. And look at that hole around the radar side. Again, I explained it to you earlier if you're watching it, but if you weren't, what that indicates is the radar beam, we'll say this is the radar beam, it's shooting out a beam that, it kind of scans the skies like this. So right when you have a cloud right above it and there's nothing falling like below a certain elevation in it, then it's shooting. It's not seeing it. It's not shooting anything. It didn't hit anything here because the precipitation is falling above the radar beam. But as it gets further out, remember it's increasing with height, so it's able to hit the radar returns further out. So you're seeing the radar returns where you're seeing precipitation, but then as it moves closer to the radar, you get this hole because there's nothing reaching the ground. That might change with these heavier bursts pushing through. I do expect freezing rain to reach the ground with those. That's a pretty good little band down towards Seymour that'll be moving into Wichita Falls shortly. I do imagine we'll see a little glazing with that. We've already seen glazing, but I imagine that will produce probably a little more of a glazing. And then behind it, once again, here we go. There's some more holes down here in the precipitation where it's not as solid. I can put on the Abilene radar site, and we can look to the south, and you can see it's just kind of a little bit more scattered in nature, kind of across central Texas now. And for us to get a significant ice storm here, this area down here would need to be lighting up with a lot of precipitation. It would need to be really lighting up at this point in time. You do see it increasing east of Abilene, once again, Stephenville. That's headed towards the Metroplex. That Metroplex, Mineral Wells, Bowie, Jacksboro, Decatur, Bridgeport, that's where the hardest hit area is going to be tonight. We do want to watch back to the southwest of us, however. And if we look back in the Midland, we can look at the Midland radar. We'll look out of San Angelo, too. There are precipitation returns down here. So as this moves northeastward, if it can overcome the dry air, this little band will move into our area overnight too. So it kind of comes in waves. It's not solid. It just kind of comes in waves. It'll precipitate for a little while, and then we'll get a little let up, and then another little wave will come through. Looking at model data at this point in time is basically useless. It has not been very good at all today. None of them have been good at all. So I do expect, at least for a little while, we'll see some freezing rain here in the falls, and then it might let up, and then it might show up again later on tonight. This is mostly becoming a travel issue for now. It doesn't look like, at least at this point in time, that it's going to be anything much more than that. Now, if we were to get accumulations of ice, if we were to get a good steady area of precipitation falling, let's say for a good part of the night, and we were able to get accumulations to get above 1/4 of an inch, then you might start worrying, just because of the weight of the ice, you might start worrying about some sporadic power outages. But without wind, it doesn't look like that's going to be too much of a factor. I can't rule it out. They had a lot of power outages this morning down towards Austin and those areas. So I can't rule it out, but at least for right now, it doesn't look like that's going to be too bad, too much of the case here. It looks like mostly, again, a travel situation. And it's going to be pretty dicey even into the morning. So the good news is the kids are out of school, at least a delayed start. It wouldn't surprise me if that turns into a cancellation altogether, but I'm okay with a delayed start. Let's see how roads look in the morning and how quickly we rise above freezing. A lot of this activity will be winding down by the time we get close to sunrise anyway. So, we'll have to just kind of see how the streets and the roads are looking at that time. But I do expect some heavier freezing rain in Wichita Falls shortly, where you see those pink colors, Vernon, Seymour, pretty good areas of freezing rain down there. And that's going to be moving into Archer County, Holiday, Lakeside City, Archer City, Windthorst, St. Joe. Eventually we'll get Henrietta in on that too. More freezing rain, Graham and Jacksboro. And we'll get to Wichita Falls here shortly. We're also seeing that up towards Chillicothe, Vernon. So deteriorating road conditions up that way. But it'll only last for a little while, maybe an hour, and then it'll let up again. And then maybe another wave comes through a little bit later on tonight. All right, so that's what we got going on. Let's try to take the time now to answer a few of your questions here. Nice little viewership here tonight, 348 viewers. By the way, I do want to report that my Facebook page has grown some, and we're now about, roughly 150 viewers away from my goal of 32,000 followers by the end of the month, or by the 1st of March. So we're getting closer to that. It just takes weather events to get stuff to build up. I got my wife now as an admin on my page here, so maybe she can help me get some of these answers questioned. Brian says, y'all pray for our Wichita Falls Encore crews that are traveling to other areas where the ice is worse. Definitely prayers always go out to them. Um, Roads tomorrow morning in Vernon. Do you think we will have school? You got some ice moving through now. It's mostly light. That's going to create problems, though. Mostly bridges and overpasses. Um, it just depends on how much precipitation you get over there. You're not going to see a whole lot, but it's coming down pretty good, and it could last for a little bit. So I could see a situation where you're at least delayed, if not canceled. I think roads in the morning, area wide, will probably be pretty slick in spots. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't have school at least in the morning. Somebody wants to know, what time do you think it'll warm up enough to not be slick in the morning? Probably after 9 or 10 o'clock it should get that way. It should start melting off pretty good. Yep, happy birthday to my wife. Today's her birthday, 33. Yeah, they delayed, Lindsay, they did delay Wichita Falls until 10 a.m. It wouldn't surprise me if they just went on ahead and canceled that, but I think 10 a.m. might be an okay time for them to get back to school. Should have gone to school today, and I do take responsibility for that. But you just never know about these things. It's better to err on the side of caution rather than to put kids on the ice. You don't want to do that at all. We just can't can't afford to do that. So. Nikki, it would be safe for schools just to cancel. I wouldn't have a problem with it, but the delayed start is also okay. That too. It just makes it more difficult on parents, though, I think, because you don't know what to expect. When I was a kid, we didn't do delayed start. It was all or nothing. So it does make it more difficult on parents, I think, that if it's, especially working parents, if it's delayed versus cancellations. But, I don't make those calls. Dr. Lamb has already been speaking to me, Amanda, and he asked me, is the weather going to get bad? And I told him, pretty slick out there. So I could see a delayed start, maybe a cancellation, but I think delayed start more than it just depends. If we get hammered with ice over the next several hours and we get power outages, that changes the game. But I don't know that we're going to see a lot of that. Just sporadic power outages is all I'm expecting at this time. Light freezing rain in Archer. In some areas, especially northwest of Archer City, should be a little bit heavier than just light. It should be moderate there now, I would think. I don't think you're going to see power outages in Vernon, Donna. I just don't. I think it's more of a travel issue. You're going to get Burke Burnett. You're kind of in a little dry zone right now, but I do expect the freezing rain to pick up there momentarily. You might have a good solid area of freezing rain for 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah, it is. My driveway here at the station is also very, very icy, Nikki. And by the way, you guys, when you thank me, I see it all, and I do appreciate that. Thank you very much for noticing that. Yeah, been a little bit of mix down there in Graham of sleet and freezing rain. I think all the sleet's over with now. I think it's all going to be all freezing rain for the rest of the night, no matter where you're at. Maybe a little sleet out west, but most of this is freezing rain. Austin, I can see work being delayed in the morning until we get a chance to get these roads to thaw out some. And I think later on in the morning they should start to thaw out. Now, the Arctic air is trying to modify now, but what happens with these Arctic air masses that are trying to modify, if cloud cover is still sticking around and there's still precipitation around, it slows the rise of those temperatures. But even so, I think the Arctic air really, really starts getting out of here tomorrow. So I do look for all this ice to start melting tomorrow at times, and I do think the roads will clear, especially by early parts of the afternoon. Yeah, it's probably just freezing rain, no matter where we look at this point in time. Oh, Judy, it's been awful in Dallas. Austin, Dallas, Mineral Wells, Weatherford, those areas just getting hammered with ice today. It's been awful down there, and the roads have been a complete mess. Airport is a complete mess. It's just awful, and they're going to continue to get it overnight tonight. It looks like it might start getting a little more scattered, and that would help that area a little bit more if it can indeed do that. Thanks, Ron. I appreciate that. Yeah, this time yesterday I was kind of talking about power outages. I was thinking that the ice could be a little bit heavier in some areas, but the worst of the storm is hitting where we thought it would be. But I did think Wichita Falls might see a little more than we're going to see. But Like I say, dry air just wins out sometimes. We're getting some at least, but it isn't going to be the crippling ice storm or the. I didn't really think it'd be crippling here, but I thought it'd be pretty major though. Yeah, I know you've been stuck in Dallas. I mean, if you were in Dallas, you just can't get out. Appreciate it, Darren. Darren B. That's my guy in Warrica that does the sunset photography. He does a great job, by the way. My wife, she's sick on her birthday. She's getting better though. I think she's feeling a little bit better. So hopefully she does continue to get better. Like I say earlier, there's a bug going around the station. Lots of people here are sick right now. I hope I don't get that stuff. But I don't. I just don't know how I can avoid to keep from getting it. I just don't see how I can just not. I mean, it just feels like I'm gonna, at some point I'll probably get it. It sucks, but it's how it is this time of the year. You've gotten some pretty good ice down there today. Um, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Gizzy, Gardner, Jizzy. You got some pretty good ice down there. I think whatever you're seeing now will continue into tomorrow morning. I think midday to early afternoons when the roads should be good and clear, or should be getting clear. They should be wet and slushy by then. Yeah, a lot of COVID going around right now. COVID, respiratory stuff, the flu, it's all there. Strep throat, it's all there. If they're going to be sick, now is the time to be sick. If you don't have to work, I've got to work, so I mean I can't be sick. But good time to stay in bed. When it's cold like this, it's just good to be in bed, right? Stay in bed all day. Bridgeport, you're getting nailed. You've been nailed already. It isn't going to get any better there until tomorrow, midday, early afternoon. You've got a lot of ice on the tree. I bet you've got at least a quarter inch of ice down there. By the way, if you do miss my stream, these are saved on Facebook, so you can go back and watch them. They'll be there for like 30 days, so you can go back and watch them. Remember, follow my Facebook page if you hadn't yet, and subscribe to my YouTube page. Nakona, you're getting it now. I mean, go outside and look. You should have ice all over the place. As a matter of fact, from my tower cam in Nakona, it looks really icy. I can probably pull all that stuff up at some point and take a look at it. From my Wichita Falls tower cam, though, it just barely even looks like it's raining outside. Barely. I mean, I'm looking from the Castaway Cove camera. If it is precipitating, it ain't very heavy. It's pretty light. So, but it don't take much. Can continue to create problems. So, I think Oklahoma probably does. Yeah, you'd have to just Google it. I'm sure Oklahoma does have a site for that. And there's Kelly Lamb commenting there. That is Dr. Keith Lamb's wife, by the way. 9:30. I'm still thinking they could be a little slick, but they'll be starting to get better, I think, by then. I mean, once we get this precipitation to end and wind down, and we get some solar radiation coming in, everything's going to melt real fast. Yeah, that rain was supposed to be all ice over there in Bowie. Bowie, you should have been hit pretty. You should have more ice over there then. You should have pretty good. You should have a good bit over there by now. Oh, I was going to tell you earlier. Some kind of exciting news. I mean, I don't know how you want to look at it, but for you storm chasers and weather junkies and weather nerds, whatever you want to call us, I will be speaking. I've been asked to speak at the Storm Chaser Summit this Saturday afternoon in Norman, or in Oklahoma City. So I'm excited to get. I mean, it's last minute, so I mean I've got a lot going on. It's going to be tough to put this all together at the last minute, but I don't know what I'm going to talk about just yet. But they asked me to speak here at the last minute, so I guess I will be there speaking at the Storm Chaser Summit, or AKA WeatherCon. on Saturday afternoon. I think 3 or 4, maybe 2, 3 or 4 o'clock. I can't remember, but I'll be up there for that. So if anybody is going to that, I will see you there. Get a chance to meet me, get a chance to talk and ask me some questions. I'm probably going to talk about the Lockett tornado. You know, we had the Lockett tornado, and a lot of chasers were on it. We had poor reception out there. And, you know, Garrett got turned around in the tracker, and we wound up missing a lot of that. So I'm going to talk about how frustrating that can be, and talk about the importance of good data and communication probably somewhere in there. They want me to talk about my stint on Borat, and I guess I will talk a little bit about that. But, you know, that happened a long time ago. I'm kind of over it a little bit by now. So my wife still thinks it's cool, but I'm just like, yeah. Oklahoma.gov/maps is, or something like that, is Oklahoma's road for ODOT, maybe. That's from Darren B. Darren's a great source of information. If he says it, it usually is true. Matter of fact, that guy has got such good information and sources. The 2 little girls we've had recently have had missing, he knew about what had happened to them before it was even officially released. He's just got good inside sources. They tell him what's what, say this is what's happened. And he said, now I can't tell you this officially, but my sources tell me this. So we knew about those, what had happened before it's ever even been reported from the police or anybody. So good source of information, great weather person, good friend too. Oh, his pictures are fantastic. Fantastic. So my lips are super chapped too. Just cold weather. You know, I complain to my wife all the time. Cold weather's just good for nothing. Well, maybe to kill off the bugs, but you know, what's weird about it is you can kill off the bugs. It can be super cold outside, and the bugs are all gone. Then all of a sudden, it warms up one day, and they're all back. It's like they go dormant or something. And then when it warms up, they all fly back up. Thanks, Cody. I appreciate it. Most accurate. I wasn't, but you wouldn't have been saying that to me this morning. That's for sure. This morning I was kicking myself. You ought to ask my wife. I was not in a good mood when I left to go to work today. Not in a good mood at all. I was a whore. I came into work. I was like, I've got to find a way to improve my attitude because you know, I got to put my work face on now. I got to let that go. But I did. I was able to get over it. But you know, forecasting weather is not easy at all. Yeah, people have been telling me all day, well, people can't expect you to predict the future. Well, I mean, yeah, that's what my job is. People joke all the time and say the weatherman's the only person that can actually lie and get his job wrong and get it wrong and still keep his job. Well, that's kind of true, to be honest about it, but I don't lie. I never lie about this. It's just it's an educated guess based upon data that's given to me. The data is really pretty good these days, but sometimes it can be a little off. You have to be careful when you're forecasting these things, especially an ice or a snow event, because these models, they start spitting out all these bright colors and these huge snow and ice amounts, and a lot of times they're just way overdone. And it's easy to get caught up in all of that, but they're way overdone, and if you go off that, you're going to bust your forecast 90% of the time. I had a pretty good explanation for why it's so hard to forecast weather in this part of the country earlier. And the reason is because storm systems develop over us. They usually don't develop west of us. They usually develop over us. And the weather information, the models that forecast this stuff oftentimes can't or doesn't handle that very well because it can't get a handle on, you know, developing stuff. So they can be hit or miss. They can be off and on, especially in predicting heavy rainfall or predicting snow or predicting ice. It's easier if you're east over there towards Tulsa, Shreveport, the Arklatex, East Texas, over in the Gulf Coast, because the systems have already developed by the time they get over there, so the models usually handle that better. So it's a challenge for any meteorologist that comes into this market to try to forecast. It is not an easy thing to do at all. I'm looking at radar data, still looking at some areas and waves trying to redevelop back to our southwest, but there are some huge holes there too. So I think that we see at least another hour, maybe after 8 o'clock, we might see the freezing rain taper off for a little while before a little more tries to come in. So whatever accumulation of ice we're going to see will have to happen, I think, with this band here. Then after that, it's going to get kind of scattered, and I don't know what will happen after that. Weather information's just been kind of useless lately. But I'm not going to complain about not getting a crippling ice storm. I was thinking about that the other day, and what we're going to do. I mean, it's going to be hard to stay warm. I can remember when I was a kid, a little kid, probably fifth, maybe fourth, fifth grade, maybe. I can remember living in Mississippi. We had a crippling ice storm in the late 80s. Big ice storm came through. And I can remember the power being out, and we lived kind of out in the country at this point in time in my life. Well, it really wasn't country. It was kind of in the suburbs of Jackson. Initially I grew up in the hood, but of South Jackson, but then we moved out to the suburbs, which we had land, we had house, and house built there, and that's where I did a lot of my growing up. That house is still there. My parents still live in that house. I still go back there. But anyway, back in the 90s, and we were kind of out, and we had this big ice storm that came through, crippling ice storm. I remember all the trees breaking and all the power lines getting knocked down, and all of the power. The power was out for at least a week. And I can remember how cold it was. But it also brings back good memories too, though. I can remember at night we would crowd around. It'd be my mom, my dad, my sister, myself, and my grandmother. My grandmother lived with us this time. We would crowd around the fireplace, and we would cook food in the fireplace. And then once you were through eating food out of the fireplace, and we'd also eat pizza. I would go get pizza. But I can remember afterwards I had this little battery-operated TV, a little black and white battery-operated TV, and we'd watch it. And the series Lonesome Dove was on. I can remember that, and that was a good series. And I can remember watching the weather on that little TV and tracking these waves of ice that just kept moving over us. But when you would get in the bed, it felt like getting into a sheet of ice. It was awful. So yeah, I'm never in favor of an ice storm ever. In fact, I don't even like snow. I don't like winter. If you follow me enough, I just don't like winter. It's just it's cold. I'm a warm weather guy. When I do retire, I want to retire to a warm climate. But retirement is nowhere in my near future. Trust me, nowhere near. So, all right, well, we've been chatting here for a little bit. Let's get back to some questions. Time right now is about 7:18. Cody says, thank you. I want to go be warm with my family. I would like to be warm with mine, too. Of course, my wife's at home in the bed. She's been there all week. When I go home these days, I used to go home to kids. These days, I go home to dogs. Kate does his own thing. I don't see him too often. And, Hayes is in college. Felicity's down in Lubbock. So I don't see anybody. Jordan he stays in his room playing games all the time. He's a gamer. Taylor moved to Johnson City, Tennessee. So it's basically just me and Kelly and dogs now. So a different part of our life. I just feel too young to be an empty nester. I just feel too young to. When my dad was my age, I was, I think, 9 or 10 years old. It was an older. My parents were later in life when they had kids, but my dad was still going to little league games when he was my age, and I feel like I'm too young to be this age. And I'm not that old. I'm only 45 years old, but still, I feel like I mentally I think more like a 35-year-old. Now I say I feel like a 35-year-old too, probably. Sometimes I got some L. I used to lift weights a lot whenever I was a teenager and early college age. I lifted weights a lot. I was actually really buff and really strong at one time. And here's one thing. Here's a fun fact about me. I can tell you. Back when I was 18, 19, and 20, I was a bodybuilder. I was a competition bodybuilder. I got on stage in those little bikini briefs, oiled all up, and flexed my pecs. I did it. It was just somebody approached me about doing it one day. I said, I'll try it. I'll try anything. I wasn't real good at it, but I did it a few times. I didn't like it. I didn't like the diet. I burned myself out on lifting weights. My body is paying for that now. So, but it's something unique I can say that I did. So, thank you for praying for Kelly. I've been praying for her too. Donna, you're young. 12 years older than me. That's still young. You're still young. My kids always tell me, "You're old, Dad." Well, you're only as old as you feel, son. And most of the time, I just don't feel that old. I just don't. Sometimes I do. The way the precipitation is much lighter. Once this little band pushes through here, it gets a lot lighter southwest of us. So we'll see how it goes. Forecast for Graham in the morning. Basically, what you're seeing right now is what you're going to get. I do expect the freezing rain to become a little bit lighter overnight tonight. There's some more trying to develop off to our southwest, and we'll see how that goes. But model data just isn't very good to use. But I'll tell you what, we'll try it real fast and see. We're going to look at some model data real fast. So we're going to look at some of the high resolution stuff and see if there's any change to anything. So there's the radar. And it looks like we got heavier freezing rain coming through now. In fact, I'm going to step outside and look at things. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. I just stepped outside, and even though the radar shows heavier precipitation over us, it is barely raining here at the station, and it should be coming down. I mean, it is light, so it is. This precipitation is still fighting all that dry air. The dry air is what's killed this forecast, and there was no way to see that coming. The dry air has really killed it. Let's look real fast at the radar here. So I'm going to pull up here. Well, I was going to do something with this. All right, so there it is. So there's a full screen image there of the ice, or the precipitation that's pushing through the area now. Now, let me widen this even a little bit more. The bigger the better, right? So there it is. And that pink color that's moving over the city here now should be heavier precipitation. But it really doesn't. Again, I walked outside, and this just isn't very heavy at all. Now, very light coming out of the sky. Whatever's coming out is super light. So a lot of that is just evaporating before it reaches the Earth's surface. A lot of it's very, very light. I will show you this. We will go down into the Metroplex. And if you hear a little buzzing in the background, it's just my computer fans kicking on. Here's the radar out of Fort Worth. And matter of fact, I'd say that the that the little glazing that we have here is well below a tenth of an inch so far. Really isn't much. Most of the glazing is on your car. The driveway is a mess. I am not looking forward to driving home on that. That's a solid sheet of ice out there. So there's been a little bit of a let up in the ice in Dallas, but it's really starting to blow up again down that way. Denton and over towards Sherman. That's where the worst of the ice storm is going to be, is kind of in this area here. Yeah, you can see how it just continues to redevelop kind of that way. Worst of the ice storm, in my opinion, is going to be from probably the kind of down over into here somewhere. Kind of up into there. That's probably where the worst of the ice storm will be. And probably Dallas will be included. I mean, Dallas is already a mess. I mean, it is a mess down there. But if we look back, whoops, I shut that. If we look at some model data in here, I'm going to pull up, I'm going to go ahead and do it. This might slow everything down. I may slow my computer down. We're going to do it anyway. I'm going to my work stuff, our computer at work. I got to log on to the computer first and then capture it. So, but once I do that, we can look at some model data, some of the latest data. I haven't looked at it lately, but you know, I'm forecasting based upon trends, and everything has been so light, and the models have been so bad today, and they were really bad with this. And you know, I mean, you got to be, you know, David Hartman, my mentor, always told me that you got to be better than the models. If you live by the models, you're going to die by the models. And you know, I just you know, but when you're forecasting weather, you have to go on what the data that's being given to you. And you know, sometime back in the day when we first got started in all of this, you know, there wasn't a lot to look at. There were like 2, maybe 3 models to look at. Now there's a whole bunch of them. There's high resolution stuff that come out every single hour. There's just lots of different things to look at. And maybe there's too much data to look at. Maybe that's the problem. You know, used to back in the day, there were these when I first got started, you could get stuff on the internet, but there were these old DIFAX charts. What happens is when the weather models would come out, you would get on a fax machine, they'd start shooting out your weather information. It was really confusing to read. It took a while to learn how to read all of that, but you know, that actually, in my opinion, made you a better forecaster, because you had less data to look at. You had to go more on knowledge and less on what the gimmicky models were showing. But you can see on the radar there, all that pink is solid freezing rain. But again, here at the station, it is light freezing rain. It is not I wouldn't even say it's even moderate. I'd say it's light. So a lot of that is still fighting off that dry air that's in place. There's a lot of your freezing rain. Look at that, Weatherford, Fort Worth, Denton, Decatur, Sherman, over to Gainesville, and then up into southeastern Oklahoma. Pretty good ice storm ongoing east of I-35. Up towards Lawton, you've really missed out on a lot of it, but there looks like there's some light freezing rain ongoing there now. Accumulations should be fairly light in that area, so whatever accumulations that you see would just create some slick spots on roadways. We can look back, and there's actually a pretty good area of freezing rain, kind of solid, southwest Oklahoma and far northwest Texas, Quanah and Altus. There might be some sleet over this way too. But if you go south, and remember our weather comes from the south. This is our radar site out of Abilene. Look at the holes in the data down here. More dry air. Just lots of dry air there. You got some little waves, and these could still develop some northeastward, and we could see some more coming in this direction here. But in general, that's just in order for us to get a more significant ice storm, we would need to see a lot more activity down this way. Now, this is the main storm center itself, probably south of here. And this is another batch that's developing, and this is going to make its way northward too. So we're not done. It's going to come in waves overnight tonight and into very early on Thursday morning. Yeah, there's the back edge of your storm system there. That would be it here. Amarillo, back in eastern New Mexico. So that's would probably be your upper air system. So we still got this. It's going to feed in. So we got more precipitation to go, but it's gonna let up at some point. It looks like this should be really heavy precipitation now, and it's not. Not according to what. Matter of fact, we can turn the mask off and look at just the rain. And if you look there, it's got yellow in there and dark green. So you would think that's heavier than it is, but it's not too heavy. And then look at how it just completely. I have everything turned down. So let me turn this thing up so it kind of fills in the gaps there. But you can see, just lighter waves coming in from the southwest. So let's look at the models here. We're going to look at the HER model. It hasn't been a very good model today, but we're going to look at it anyway because it updates every hour. So here it is, 7:30. Time right now is 7:30. See how it is? It's trying to show that there's a break in the activity over us now with solid stuff coming in from the southwest. And then it just kind of dissipates it all together after 10:30. And it has some more coming in later on tonight, but that's what I'm talking about. It's just not super believable. But I mean, it's possible that this could let up pretty soon if that's correct. I'm gonna change sources here and go to the graph and see what the graph. This is an in-house model we use sometimes, and see what it's showing. All right, so this is showing waves coming through. Then it kind of shows it scattered out later on tonight too, but there's some more down across the southeast. So that's looking pretty likely. It looks like, at least after this, just a couple more waves coming in, kind of scattered in nature. Let's see if there's any, let's see if the 3K NAM. That's pretty good there. That's a pretty good model. It shows solid into tomorrow morning. That's probably pretty accurate there too. Sometimes the 3K is a little bit overdone though. So we'll see if that happens. That might be accurate there. But most of that's light too, so. All right, well, that's really all I got. I was just going to basically just kind of let this roll for a while because, I'm really not doing anything. I do got to update our news channel, our First Alert 6 weather app. It does have to be updated. I haven't updated it in a little bit, so I do need to do that. And I'll have to do a update over on News Channel 6 too on our Facebook page because there's people that don't follow me on this page here. This is a good source. This is a good page to be a part of because I do so many updates with it, and I do updates from my house with it. So you get updates here that you're not going to get, on the News Channel 6 side of things. And plus, you can always ask me a lot of questions here. But if you do have a question, get to me here. I have a personal page, and I try to limit that to just friends and family. I've got some people on there I have no idea who they are, but usually if you just send me a friend request over there, if I don't know you personally, the chances are pretty good I'm not going to accept you. It's not to be mean. I just use that for personal use over there. So. All right, let's go back to some question times here. I realized we still had that up. The roads between Vernon and Lawton, they're probably not too bad, but they're going to probably be at least some slick spots up there. I don't advise traveling on them, Jennifer. Do you think school will end up being canceled instead of delayed? I don't think so. I'm thinking cancellation will probably handle it, to be honest about it. This has really turned into a bust of a forecast, honestly. It's not a complete bust because we did get some, but it took us so long to precipitate to do away with this dry air. I'm gonna count this as a bust. Is why I'm gonna count this a bust forecast. Compared to what we were talking about last night, I'm going to say this is a bust. We did get some, but, we didn't get the quarter to half inch. That's not going to happen. So cancellations to me probably a pretty good bet right now. Excuse me, delays instead of cancellations are probably a pretty good thing right now. We'll see how things evolve overnight tonight, but this looks like the steadiest, worst part of the storm now. And then after that, just some scattered areas coming in after midnight into the morning. Of course, it depends on how all that develops off to the southwest of us. You know, if we can get another area, generate another area of heavier precipitation that can come over us with this really moistening up now, we could get some better accumulating rates. It looks like a little bit of a dry slot's trying to come in. Of course, if you're in the Metroplex, Fort Worth, those areas, I wouldn't think you'd have school again tomorrow. Maybe Friday, but there's probably a lot of power outages in that area, I would think. Looks like a lot of the freezing rain has ended down in Austin, and by this time tomorrow, this will all be a thing of the past. So that is definitely some good news. I am seeing a little area, a pocket of freezing rain, pretty large area, regenerating from San Angelo up towards the Fort Worth area. That could brush some of our southeastern counties late tonight and in the morning, so there could be some issues over there. My daughter's trying to call now. Of course, she's probably has no idea that I'm on Facebook Live here and YouTube Live. I'll call her back. So, see how things are there in Lubbock. Well, you know what? I'll put her on right now. I'll answer. Let's see. It may turn us off. Hello, hello. I'm on YouTube. We're on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. What's the report like in Lubbock?
I don't know. I was about to ask you.
So there's is there any ice down there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some ice on the roads. You know, earlier it like rained or sleeted. And now I haven't left the house all day because I don't want to slide on the ice. So.
Did y'all have class today?
We did this morning, but I didn't go because the roads were bad in Lubbock.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you stayed off those roads then.
Yeah. So, and then they canceled class after 12, so I didn't have to go. And the roads are like all wet now and stuff, so they might freeze overnight. I don't know.
Well, I'm looking at radar, and most of what I see back towards you, Helicity, there's another wave. There's a wave just to your east, and there's another wave to your south. Some more will probably come in, but it doesn't look like doesn't look too bad. You may actually see a little snow over there overnight tonight, but I wouldn't be surprised if you at least had delayed class again in the morning.
Well, I need it because I have a bunch of reading I need to do, so.
All right, well, go get your reading done. I'm going to stay on Facebook Live here and answer all these questions, but I'll call you when I head home later on tonight, okay?
Okay, love you.
All right, love you too. Bye. All right, so you got blessed by my daughter there. We got to get a live report from Lubbock, Texas. Yep, Jennifer says, will it be safe to drive from Vernon to Midlothian Friday and Sunday? Yep, Friday will be great. The weekend looks great. I love it. Back in the 60s, that's my kind of weather, folks. Springtime is my time of weather. I like it. That's my favorite time of the year. Well, fall or spring, I like both of them. Fall, there's football season. Spring, there's everything's coming to life. Everything smells good. Everything looks good. The trees start budding back out again. My wife goes out of hibernation and starts coming to life again. So I do like spring for those reasons, and we don't have to deal with this mess. South of Graham, PK Lake, have seen a lot of sleet and freezing rain. Yeah, that's where it's all been. The hill country, central Texas, they've gotten whacked with this one. Lake Kickapoo ought to be getting some now, actually. Not a lot, but there's some in there. Yeah, I know storm chasers love severe weather season, but remember, our viewers that have storm anxiety do not love storm season. But I do love spring season. And I'd rather forecast severe weather than I had. This stuff any day of the week. I just do a better job at that than I do with this. I'll be glad when this is over too, Joanne. And it's almost over. With the lights at the end of the tunnel, we're getting there. We're getting close. Tomorrow is the day. I'm looking around on my tower cams here to see if there's any ice showing up. I mean, the Kona looks very icy. The Kona looks really icy. Looking in Vernon now. Man, I'm hungry. I've had nothing to eat since about, when did I eat lunch today? I think I ate about noon. Yeah, I actually noticed, looks like probably pretty icy in Vernon. Looks like some precipitation's falling there. It's light, but it looks like there's definitely some rain falling there. Let me see if Burt Burnett has anything here. Yeah, Burt Burnett's got pretty solid raindrops on that lens cap, which probably is ice, I'd imagine. Wichita Falls, yeah, the roads look okay. I mean, the trucks are driving pretty good over the bridge. Of course, they know what they're doing. They're probably driving safely, but you know, I don't know that there's a lot of ice falling. I can probably change this tower cam here. We can probably, matter of fact, we can probably go back to all that. I can show you what I'm looking at instead of this. Why don't we go back to this? You probably hear the buzzing again. That's my my computer. Let me see if I can remember the password to this. I usually have to look it up. No, it's not that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up. I can't remember what it is. All right. All right, so I've got my Wichita Falls Castaway Cove tower cam popping up here. Let's kind of move it around some and see if I can see ice anywhere. It certainly isn't real heavy precipitation falling, that's for sure. But this is on the storm tower out at Castaway Cove. And if this were summertime, you can see some raindrops. There's pretty good raindrops falling there. It's decent rain. Decent freezing rain, that is. Remember, freezing rain is just rain. That's all it is. Falls to the Earth's surface as rain, and then once it sits there, it freezes. So that's what you're seeing. It's just rain outside, but it is freezing. Temperature here sits at 29 degrees. You can kind of see that tree there is kind of glistening some there. Let's see if we can find some other trees. Yeah, it's coming down decent. I'd say moderate, light to moderate rain there. Let's see if we can zoom into some of these other little trees out here in the parking lot. This is a good tower cam. Not enough light there to be able to see. Those trees would probably look pretty good if I could get a little more light on them. Those trees will be tough to see because of the leaves. The leaves. All right, so I'm going to zoom. This is, I think it's 281. And of course, you can see the roadways look wet, but keep in mind they might be a little slick in some areas. That traffic just went over that bridge without any problems, so that's good. Yeah, those trees could be glistening a little bit, I suppose, but not too much. Yeah. Well, that's what everything looks like out there anyway. Traffic looks okay, but I'm sure there are accidents around. I'm pretty sure there probably are. But it does look all right, though, at least from this vantage point. Man, I need something to eat. I'm hungry. But I'm not leaving the station in this ice. The only time I'm going to leave them to drive on this ice is when I'm going home. I'm not going to leave just to go drive on the ice to get something to eat. It isn't that important to me. See there, I'm not even getting on the roads tonight. It really is rough out there, guys. It really is. It's pretty rough. So, all right. Well, looks like we done lost most of our viewers now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump off of here. I'm going to do some updates on some other things. So y'all stay safe. I will have another update before I leave here. I'll do another Facebook Live probably around 9:30. It'll be a quick, brief one to just kind of update you on what's going to happen for the rest of the night. But as of right now, what you're seeing there above you on the ticker there, light to moderate freezing rain off and on overnight tonight. It doesn't look too bad. It looks like we're going to dodge a bullet. Most of what we're seeing is just going to be some travel issues and a little bit of a glaze on some of the trees and stuff, but I don't think power outages are going to be too bad. So not least in northwest Texas, southwest Oklahoma. Metroplex, different story down there. Central Texas, different story down there. But this all comes to an end tomorrow morning. The light's at the end of the tunnel. Better weather is on the way. Hang in there. All right, I'm jumping off now.